Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. The Drexel Free Thought Society is proudly the only secular organization at Drexel University. We won't mind having more of them, but we're still proud to hold that spot. The Drexel Free Thought Society strives to create a community at Drexel for atheist, agnostic, free thinkers, religious people who don't like religion anymore, tacos, blue people, and anyone from France.
And Zeke.
Today's topic is free will. Does it exist? Does it not? Do we care? Do we have any power over it? My name is Dave McDevitt. I'm the president of this organization, and let's talk nonsensically about nothing.
Nothing?
Gentlemen?
I guess I'm the vice president, so I guess we're going to talk about nothing, which I guess free will equals nothing in this case. And unfortunately, our buddy Richard Campbell couldn't be with us today. He is having a doctor's appointment.
He said it so, sinisterly, too. It was like, I'm sorry I can't be there. I have a doctor's appointment.
I think because he wants to be a pathogen, a human pathogen, or whatever. That's Richard for you.
I think you're getting a lot of words confused right now. Douglas?
Yes. So, let's see. I've actually pulled up a few Bible quotes.
That can only go in a good direction.
Absolutely.
Bible quotes?
Yes,
They're called scriptures. How dare you call them quotes?
So sorry. These are very...
These holy scriptures.
These are peer-reviewed. These are...
Oh, peer-reviewed? Okay, that's better. Peer-reviewed
Well,
scripture.
it depends on the peers.
Let's hear it.
Peer review, other goat herders read them and said this is okay.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yes.
Makes it better.
Yes, no. Actually, one that I found really interesting was that has to pertain to free will was the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So to me, that pretty much negates any idea that we are.
Wait, what's the first line?
The heart of man plans his way,
Okay.
but the Lord establishes his steps. It's Proverbs 16:9. And for me, that just kind of negates any type of idea that we have free will or that free will is bestowed upon us by a higher power.
Yeah, it seems to just be internally contradictory. It's kind of like... I'm trying to make sure all the settings are correct. If anyone can't hear us, let us know and we'll make the volume absurd and whatever.
It seems like it's like a person creating a robot almost. It's like, sure, I'm going to allow you to think of these things, but you're still going to travel this path here.
I think it's almost playing on the father role again, because the religion, Christianity, does that all the time. It's kind of like, this child can choose which direction it's going as long as I'm pointing them. I'm literally picturing a kid walking with his feet in the air and the parent just lifting him up by the shoulders.
I mean
The kid
that's
wants
a really
to.
good analogy.
The kid wants to go somewhere, but they're not going anywhere until the parent says so.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if that's the idea, then in what way do you think you have free will?
It's like you're punished for having, at least according to...
Or corrected, at least.
Yeah, it's like you're punished for having free will. You thought of that? Well, that's a sin right there. That's a bad notch. You're going to wind up going to hell for this unless you repent. So it's like, you're allowed to do these things, but it seems like if you stray the path, whatever the being wants you to stray, there's going to be a severe consequence to it. Kind of like, someone in real life. Think about it. You can go and kill somebody if you want to. You can punch them in the face. You can do whatever you want. But there's going to be a severe consequence for your actions.
Yeah, but where there is a severe consequence for those kind of actions, which kind of makes a societal level of sense.
Yeah.
We can't go around punching people, Dante, no matter how much they deserve it. But there is the idea that, this is a play that people have had on a criticism that people have had about Christianity for a while.
Uh-huh.
The idea that humans are being punished for obeying their own nature. And in this sense, that has been bestowed on them by God. The whole, he created us curious. He knew we'd eat that forbidden fruit, but he let us loose next to it anyway.
Yeah, it seems very insulting, not only to us, but how, just to give us this overwhelming, innate ability to be curious and intrigued and just intelligent, and then to not allow us to question anything is just To expect blind faith from such intelligent creatures it's moronic.
And I think that's the idea, is you have to promote the idea that you have to support blind faith, otherwise none of this even makes sense.
I agree.
Well, go to the next one.
I also find that it's very strange that people that they're always talking about God's plan, like he wanted this to happen.
So contradictory.
It really is, like, and still they tout the whole like free will thing.
Yeah, it's got
like, does he have a plan or does he give you free will?
No, do you know what the funniest argument you can say to someone is, why do you pray if God has a plan?
Yeah.
You're either saying that his plan is wrong, and what you think you need is more than what he thinks you need.
Disagree with God?
It's not even disagreeing with God. You can disagree with his plan as much as you want, but you're actively saying, I think this is wrong, and what I suggest is better.
Pretty much. But they won't look at it that way. They'll find some sort of justification.
No, because it's the whole servitude thing.
But it seems like
begging for something is different than saying that you should have it.
It seems like they only bring up the God's plan thing whenever something just simply doesn't go their way and they cannot explain why.
Or just if anything bad happens to anyone.
Yeah, it's the only time they do. But other than that, when it comes to them, if they pray, things good are going to happen to them. I mean, at least that's what they assume. And it just seems kind of arrogant of the person to do that. It's like, not only are they telling God that your plan just sucks and I really want this because I don't like your idea, but you're also saying that if I do this and I talk to God because I possess the ability to talk to God, then good things are going to happen to me, and about those other people, blah. You know, even if the prayer is towards other people, it's still what that person wants, and not necessarily what everybody else wants.
What is it? It's prayer is the magical way to think you did something for someone without actually doing anything?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, one person actually getting down and digging the shovel is a lot more powerful than 1 million people standing in front of the dirt. I said one person standing on the ground and shoveling dirt, trying to create a hole.
I said digging the shovel.
Yeah, well, digging the ground, whatever.
Oh.
Is more powerful and more useful than
I don't know what you're doing with that shovel.
It's more powerful than 1 million people standing around the dirt hoping that it'll create a hole itself.
Oh, one of my favorite lines ever is just hands that work are better than hands that pray.
Yeah. What is it? 2 hands working are worth more than 1,000 clasped in prayer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or another favorite, get the hell up off your knees and do something. That might be mine.
Well.
I can see you walking by like a group of people who are just praying. They're like, what are you guys doing? We're praying. Things going to go right. No, get off your knees and do some work.
I've actually wondered about like 2 pious people praying for different outcomes. Like,
I know, like, what are they?
I always ask that question.
I'm in the camp now where it's just like, why are you praying at all? It's completely contradictory to everything you believe.
No, it's not. How dare you say that?
You're saying you know better than God's plan, or you're saying something like you actually have the power to influence God's plan.
Some people think that they are in collusion with God for the plan.
Well,
God has a plan for me, and I'm just doing His will.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
a funny one.
That's the stupidest counter argument where it's like, oh, I'm only praying because God wants me to, and it's like, okay, so in His magical plan, He said, and then this tiny speck of nothing is going to talk to me for a half hour every night.
Yeah,
because
that's gonna help.
That's a good question. What is the difference between God's will and free will? Because a lot of people talk about God's will, God wants this to happen, blah, blah, blah. But they also say that God gave me free will. So it's like, wait a minute, when is the free will thing taking place and when is the God's will thing taking place? I mean, is it...
I can answer this question really fast,
yes.
if I could.
Yeah.
It's God's will when good things happen. It's humans' will when bad things happen. God can only do good things, and men can only do bad things.
Weird.
Christianity.
That just kind of sucks.
Well, think about it. A building collapses and one person survives. God did it. He didn't make the building collapse. That was like
He saved the
lesbians and Muslims. They made the building collapse.
And women tempting men causing earthquakes and
Boobquake.
Oh,
Best thing in the world. Immodestly dressed women cause earthquakes.
It's sad because people actually, truly, honestly believe.
Like, you see, when sun reflects off of breasts, it travels in between the tectonic plates and vibrates them violently.
So some sort of weird, mammalian gland reflection of the rays that just hits.
Well, the more we talk about it, the more it's going to happen.
Yeah, we better stop.
We've already been quote mined 6 times. Right now.
Oh,
The internet is wily.
cool.
I've actually watched myself a few times of stuff that I say on these podcasts.
Free will boob.
Because if we ever get really popular, we're gonna get quote mined like crazy.
Oh dear.
I hope that does happen.
If anyone ever has a question about something I said, ask me and I'll tell you. And most of my answers will be, "Why the hell do you care? Get away from me."
Most of my answers will be, "I'm just crazy. Don't mind me."
Or it's to get someone to never talk to you again. Give me your eyes and I'll give you the answer.
Zeke. That's why I have to say.
Is that your answer for everything?
Zeke, yes.
Zeke.
The word for today.
That is your. I was about to say that's your word of the day.
The word for today is Zeke.
Wow, so that's random. Apparently, I just got 2 pieces of malware and a Trojan.
No.
I wonder what I was doing.
That's interesting. God's will, man.
God's will. You see? I knew it would happen.
He cares a lot about what you do on your computer.
Pray it away.
Damn. Just pray. Mommy, I have cancer. Oh, just pray, honey. It's
No,
okay.
that's actually...
That's a thing, though.
Yeah, that's the
That's the sad part.
That is so
unfortunately.
Right.
No, I'm genuinely perplexed by people that pray for really
faith
petty
healing.
things, just
Where are my keys?
Yeah, does God honestly have nothing better to do?
Well,
than
no,
he
he doesn't.
Oh, okay,
This is an argument I've heard people give.
So your exams are more important than starving children,
No, it's because, again, God is personally engaged in my life, but He has a plan for those starving, dying children. Christianity especially, but pretty much every religion I can think of, is the most solipsistic and narcissistic way of thinking physically possible. I am a wretched and awful sinner, but God is personally intrigued in my daily activities. How do you do both those things at once?
God finds a way.
It's actually, no, I know how they do it at once. It's the definition of a unhealthy relationship.
Ouch.
I think I've said this before. Christians are battered wives.
Yes.
It's battered wife syndrome, yes.
Or battered husbands. That does happen. It's
Battered
just
people.
underreported.
Battered people.
Battered spouse.
There you go. That works.
Makes sense.
Battered significant other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, God is an abusive sociopath, so...
No, because if you think about it, it's, please love me, God, though I am a wretched and worthless sinner. That is characteristic of someone that you just want to shake and go, you are better than this. Stop saying these things about yourself.
Have you noticed it's simultaneously narcissistic and low self-esteem at the same time? It's I am great because I am able to communicate with this great, awesome being that created me, but I'm also completely worthless.
Hitchens mentioned this, and the religion poisons everything. That's God is not great.
Uh-huh.
That one. I think that's the right book. Doesn't matter. But he was like, oh, excuse me, everyone. I am a lowly, wretched sinner, but I have an errand to do for God. And then the person walks away. It's the dissonance that's going on in these people's minds. But enough of that. Let's go into... I got 2 news stories that I think... Do you want to go more? Do you have more quotes?
No.
Oh, we can jump back and forth. It doesn't matter. There's 2 news stories that extremely loosely tie into the topic.
Okay.
We can make this happen.
And it's more just they were so appalling that I couldn't not talk about them. Alabama hospitals...
You just spoke the word.
Yeah. Brace yourselves. An Alabama hospital speaking to a pregnant woman. Sorry, honey, we won't help you here. Let me see if I can find it. This bill, HB 31. Someone might be calling me. Nope. Don't worry, everyone. A podcast is going to be on in 15 minutes, apparently. Sorry about that. All right, so HB 31 would permit the hospital staff, including any doctor, nurse, counselor, or lab technician, to refuse to participate in any phase of patient medical care related to ending a pregnancy, even if it is what a patient like this woman seeks to protect her own health and future fertility. The actual story is this woman was with her husband, and she woke up to use the bathroom, as pregnant women often do, and there was a lot of blood, and she felt really severe pains in her abdomen. This is not a good sign. So immediately she went to the hospital, and it's likely she's going to miscarry, which that's an awful situation for anyone to be in. And the hospital basically says, get out. This bill negates like half of the Hippocratic Oath, even though that's technically not a governing thing. But it's like, depending on your religious beliefs in Alabama, you can outright refuse to help women that will actively die without doctors stepping in.
But what is the purpose of rejecting them?
You no longer have to help with anything that helps or encourages or promotes the idea of ending pregnancies. You can now just flat out refuse. You could be like, a surgeon who is more amenable to this sort of situation could be prepped for surgery, and then the nurses could just walk out of the room.
I mean, that being from Georgia, that actually makes sense, and I see this all the time. Like, people that are adamantly against abortion or, like, you know, protecting the mother's welfare and ending the pregnancy. And it's so funny because these are also the same people that are very adamantly, like, for cutting things like, nutrition.
Security.
Yes, and nutritional assistance for these children that are being brought into the world. Like, protect the infant, not the child.
The children, I think someone on the internet did the math, and based off a whole lot of different studies or whatever, determine the age in which the right-wing religious people don't care about you anymore. And I think it's like a year and a half.
Yeah, right after that it's
like they just don't care if you're alive. And
let's protect this birth, but not this child.
The classic one is being pro. Okay, so this is just going to be an umbrella statement. I am no longer using the term pro-life. I encourage everyone on the internet to follow this movement. Ignore people when they say they're pro-life. What they actually are is anti-choice. So you don't have to. This is not a rule.
I don't use it.
I highly encourage if this conversation ever comes up. It's either choice or anti-choice, or choice and oh man, I just lost it. It's pro-choice or pro-control. Just never use the term pro-life, because they're not. And the way that I cite this is an enormous proportion of the people that are pro-life, quote-unquote, are also pro-death penalty.
The irony. Zeke.
And now for a counter to that, I'm pro-treatment and pro-choice.
I'm pro-help these people with these situations.
Like, the prison thing is just so stupid. Why? Like, I forget who said it, but there was an excellent quote that was like, if you wanted to design a system to create worse criminals, look no further than the United States. Because we do nothing to rehabilitate prisoners. All we do is punish them for a while and basically give them a reason to commit crimes.
Because now they hate society. Now they have
a reason. Dude, like, solitary confinement, I would go absolutely insane.
No,
I would leave prison and stab people wildly on the street. Like, I don't even understand how you could do that to people. In, like, Finland and other Scandinavian countries, and I think a bit in England, they completely flipped it over. And they're just like, going to jail is almost going on a vacation. Obviously, you can't leave. And that's kind of the deterrent, is people don't like being trapped places. But it's like exercise equipment, decent food.
They do that here now, in some places.
No, I mean like real, like go outside, go walk through a forest, daily counseling, like not jam-packed to the rafters with people. It's like, if you have, like, say you have 30 hardened criminals, and if you put them into, like, a fairly good-sized compound, and actually taught them and fixed the problems that made them commit the crimes to begin with, then they're going to be better people when they leave.
I think would be a lot
Free
better
will.
for America. One thing that'd be great for America, if we made less ridiculous laws. Like, I mean, even though I'm not a smoker, the whole marijuana thing. Hold on, I'll be right there.
Okay.
Like this whole locking people up for marijuana possession, nonsense like that. I think we would have a lot more money to rehabilitate these really hardened criminals instead of spending all this money trying to take care of people who are in jail for doing something so innocuous. It's just common sense, but common sense isn't so common anymore.
It's like I have one. This has been proposed by other people other than me. But one law that, if taken into effect, would solve like half of the country's problems. Make all politicians get paid minimum wage. And cap it. Like, it can never be higher than minimum wage.
Wow.
First off, most politicians would instantly raise minimum wage. But then also, once it gets to a non-ridiculous but still livable wage, they would have another job. Probably. Or at least a hobby. Or at least not live in constant luxury so they actually understand how normal people live.
Oh, yeah.
I think the biggest downfall of this country, among its many failures, is the idea of a career politician.
I mean, they're so disconnected from the population that they serve.
Yeah, I think that's also around, just slightly off topic, also the same issue with the population and even police officers. I remember there was one time I talked to some folks who were, a generation or two ahead of me, and they said that, almost everyone in the neighborhood knew the police officers. It is to the point where the officer would be like, "Hello, how you doing?" The person would be like, "Hello, how you doing?" There was no divide there. It was like you were all one community. Sure, the cops had the ability to lock people up and shoot people and stuff, but at the same time, the people kind of worked as police officers too because they were the neighborhood watch and everything.
Yeah, back in the day, neighborhood watches actually did something.
Yeah,
I think it has to do with like being invested in your community.
Yeah,
but we don't care because we're scared of everybody.
Yeah, it's like we hate cops. We hate everything, so we just don't touch it. We just want to stay in this little asinine bubble that we've created for ourselves. It's like we kill our own free will, if anything. It's like we imprison ourselves. And now you look at today, politicians are a different species from, the middle class, which are a different species from the low class, which are a different species from the high class, which are a different species from the police officers. It's like, oh yeah, he's a police officer.
And then
don't talk to him.
super high class.
Yeah, it's like he's a police officer. Don't talk to him. I try to say hello to police officers everywhere I go.
Oh, I do too.
But
you know what's really bad is I'm still nervous around police officers. I'm one of the whitest people on the face of the earth, but I'm still like not to say that only like black people can be afraid of police.
No.
But I mean, like I've never suffered at the hands of a police officer.
Me neither.
Not really, but.
It's a cultural
There's
thing.
too many stories.
It's mostly a cultural thing too. I've talked to some police officers, just actually sat down and had discussions with them, and I'll be honest with you, just to be real, a lot of them they're just grumbled with the society. It's that divide. I don't know where that divide happened or how it happened. It may be because of some of those really bad cases.
I think a lot of it has to be with a sentence. Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the public perception in which police feel they have to be.
Yeah.
Like
expectations, right?
Like someone called the police on me once because I was wearing my winter mask and I walked into one of the buildings and someone was nervous, so they called the police. Perfectly fair. I should have taken it off when I walked in the building. It was cold out. Whatever.
You were intimidating. David's almost like 7 feet tall.
But whatever. That wasn't the part I was upset about. But they would not apologize.
Their own free will. They don't want to.
No, apologize. It's like I complained. Like I was like, they forcibly demanded I take off my mask and show card, and it was an uncomfortable situation, and I did nothing wrong, and they were like, all I wanted was them to be like, all right, I'm sorry about that. Have a nice day. And I talked to this random guy who worked at the police station. He was like, police don't do that. We cannot admit that we did anything wrong. And I'm just
As
like...
an actual rule?
Yes. Police are not allowed to say they did something wrong, because if they do, then normal people could sue them.
They get sued anyways for beating the snot out of people for jaywalking.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so it's like...
No, but apparently that's a thing. And I'm just like...
So now you have
whatever.
the sue-happy culture, which I think that's part of the problem too. So it seems like we perpetuate each other's downsides. It's like, you know, because we're so sue-happy and everything, the police are scared. Let's be honest with you. Even though the police may beat people's behinds and all that stuff, they're actually scared of us. You know, so they want to, you know, like the whole thing about not apologizing or doing this or doing that. They do it so they can save face.
They're not allowed to act like people anymore.
Yeah, it's like they're more about being automatons. There's that lack of free will thing, and they're more about, of course, making the money. Because let's be honest with you, a lot of police officers, at least hardened police officers, they're not out there for the justice. Some are. I'm not saying all police officers are complete robots and stuff. You got the good ones who are out there for the justice, but you have the other ones, they're just trying to make a living. And part of the living is, hey, you know, my boss told me just to lock up this guy, no questions asked, whatever, I'm going to do it. And it's bad.
I'm so annoyed with the idea of I'm just following orders.
It sucks.
It's like, no, you're just following orders, so you're responsible for your actions. And that segues into free will. Aha! Who saw that coming?
The My Lai massacre in Vietnam.
I know. There's like so many stories.
What
is it? It's the Nuremberg defense or something. Nuremberg?
I think that's what it's called.
Muhlenberg defense?
Nuremberg, I think.
Nuremberg defense?
I think it's Nuremberg.
Muhlenberg is the college my dad went to. I don't think it's that.
But it's the way that whole thing went down was just scary. Period. Especially with the whole orders and all that stuff.
Because it's just ridiculous. And I don't care. If you were just following orders, then you should have thought for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't care how you were conditioned.
Oh,
you are an individual. You're responsible for your own actions.
It's not necessarily the conditioning with that incident. Because there are certain things in the military that you have to do. And to be honest with you, if I was stuck in that situation, I honestly wouldn't know what to do. I would love to not do anything horrible to those people. But at the same time, back then, the military was different than it is today. They could shoot you if you didn't, you know, follow orders.
Yeah, that's why I would never join the military.
Yeah, it's...
Like, kudos. I understand the need for people to, but I would just be... Actually, no. Like, no ill will whatsoever, Dante. Your life is your life. But, I basically thank people that go into the army for doing it so I don't have to. Basically, so the government won't force me to do it.
There's no offense to that at all.
That's basically it.
Some people can do it, and some people, you know, can't. Some people will, some people won't. That's just how it is. And I totally understood that going in. So it's just that, you know, when you're in that big old war situation, you got a system where your free will is indeed compromised. And believe me, I was in the military 8 years. Your free will is indeed compromised, and a lot of us, a lot of young folks, they go in without really understanding that. No one actually talks about these things. I kind of knew most of it going in, but I didn't know everything.
You will be ordered to shoot people that are completely innocent.
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm thankful that I did not have to be put in that position.
I am too.
So
I don't want you to be in that situation.
No.
Do you think that the military conditions you to just abdicate your free will?
Abdicate your free
Isn't
will?
that basically part of boot training in boot camp?
See, one of the reasons I left the military, to be honest with you, and this is nothing against our fighting men and women, is that certain things didn't make sense to me.
Perish the thought.
Now, as far as war is concerned, and I'm ignoring the Iraq-Afghanistan thing because they follow totally different rules from what the first Gulf War did and what the Korean War and Vietnam War did. But they did want you to, in some ways, think on your own. You know, I mean, sure, you could follow the orders of the sergeant and blah, 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 whatever, but they also wanted you, at least what I was taught, they also wanted you to coordinate with your sergeants, your lieutenants, and everything. Like, not necessarily just follow their orders blindly, but at the same time, it's like, hey, sergeant, well, what about this idea? And luckily for me, whenever we actually had a mission or a task to do, A lot of my higher ups actually did listen to me. They were like, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Even though they were in charge and they've been in for about 10 years and I was in for like 2 or 3 years, they would be open to listen to ideas. Sure, they would be the guys in charge and execute it, but they were okay with it. But you had some people, and this just sucks. It's one of the reasons why I left. You got those guys who they get in there, they get that rank and everything, and the only thing they think of is that I'm in charge. I got the chevrons on my chest, or I got the chevrons on my collar. I'm the brains of the outfit, and you're going to do as I say. Oh,
one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it like 45 degree angles,
Funny
almost
shapes.
something like that? Yeah. So it's like occasionally you bump into one of those guys, and I've bumped into those guys where we could have accomplished the task easier if we had just done it this way. But this guy, he wanted to be pig-headed. He wanted to, I was in charge, blah blah blah. So it seems like depending on who you're with, at least in my experience with the military, determines how compromised your free will really is. And one of the places where I was at, luckily, even though I had a sergeant in charge of me, he trusted me as a human being. Even though I was a soldier, I still followed order. He trusted me as a human being that whatever needed to get done, I'd accomplish the mission. So I was able to conjure up my own ideas. I had some soldiers under me and stuff, and I treated them, even though I outranked them, I still treated them as allies. They were still my buddies. And whenever they had a great idea, I'm like, okay, let's do that, and then we go ahead and do it. The problem is this mindset is actually quite prevalent even in the workplace. It's not just a military mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems as if your free will is somewhat determined by, how you receive orders, what makes sense to you, and who you're around, really. It seems, especially when you're a child, that plays a big part on how compromised or how supported your free will is going to be. Because some people are just raised to be followers.
Now we gotta set down some things.
Yeah, sure.
What is free will?
That's good.
This is definitely something we should do.
Yeah,
a half hour into the show.
Yeah, we definitely should hit a definition. That's a good idea, because I might have just described free will in 20 million different ways just to that whole conversation. So I think it is a good idea.
Honestly, for that reason, that's why one of the many reasons I think free will is an archaic phrase that means nothing and never really existed.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, because it's like, again, there's only so many things you can do within the society that you're raised in.
I'm not even talking about that.
Oh, even deeper than that, huh?
No, I'm saying the illusion that you have any choice over any of your actions.
Oh.
So I love these particular,
So what controls your actions, exactly?
your subconscious.
Your subconscious. Can we define subconscious then?
The parts of your brain you don't have conscious control over.
Like my heartbeat, for example.
Well, most of your brain. The underwiring that does all of the stuff that you are just aware of. It's been kind of described in some I guess more philosophy of neuroscience.
Genetic programming, quote unquote?
No, not like that. It's just that your conscious mind is the thing that just reads what your conscious mind dictates to you.
Your conscious mind reads what your conscious mind dictates?
No, your conscious mind reads what your subconscious dictates.
Okay.
And the best example I can think of this is, where are the words you're speaking coming from? Do you picture each word before you say it?
No.
They just come from nowhere, don't they? Think of a country. Where'd that country come from?
Totally random. I just thought about
within
Algeria.
my unconscious.
You see, this is the point, is our conscious mind barely does anything. Our subconscious does pretty much everything, like all of our thinking. If you're trying to retrieve something from memory, that's not your conscience. That's not your conscious mind. That's your deep-rooted subconscious that you have no real control over.
So maybe that kind of...
This is what I'm saying, is free will is an illusion.
So maybe it kind of explains why we absorb some information, why some information just seems to leave. Like, I can remember a silly, ridiculous incident from years ago in high school, but yet something I was taught in lecture 2 days ago is completely gone.
Yeah.
And I have no real control over that.
Well, that has more to do with what type of memory you're good at. Like, some people are really good with spatial memory. Some people are really good with tactile memory.
We think that's part of
Smells
subconscious,
are
though, right?
Yeah, they're all part of your subconscious.
Okay.
I'm doing a very, very jagged definition of your brain and just dividing into subconscious and conscious. There's more to it, but just for layman's definitions, we can just go with that.
So you posit that free will is just an illusion.
I'm not even saying it's an illusion. I'm saying it's gone. It never existed. It was made. It was made up to justify people's actions. And an example of that is the most common argument I brought this up to a couple different times, different people, and the most common argument I have is, what do you do with prisoners? If they're not in control of their actions, if they're all the subconscious, how can you punish them? My response to that is, why are you punishing anybody? That's exactly my point. So, you shouldn't punish anybody, because it's not entirely under their control.
So punishment of any sort should be...
No, I think punishment is a sham. You should prevent people from hurting people continuously, but then you should rehabilitate them. And if they can't be rehabilitated, either due to our technology, our understanding, or the person who's outright evil, then prevent them from being in society anymore.
Well, isn't that quote-unquote still against their will, though? They want to be...
There is no will, remember.
There is no will.
I can't subscribe to that.
But the person wants to be, even though the person has done something wrong.
I knew people would argue. I love it.
Yeah, even though the person has done something wrong, the person still wants to be outside of the jail cell. Whether it's rehabilitation or not.
No, you see, is their person, like their subconscious and conscience, still performed the negative action to society. Okay. That person, Joe, Joe murdered somebody.
Okay.
That happened.
Yep.
It was completely within the brain of this individual. So we have to work to fix the brain of this individual and prevent them from continuing to murder people.
Can it be fixed?
Possibly.
See,
possibly not.
I completely understand that, actions are oftentimes, influenced by external factors. But I still believe that in those moments, you definitely have a choice.
No, I'm not saying you don't have a choice.
Your course of action is not predetermined by...
No, it's not predetermined.
Your unconscious or...
No, you see, there's a difference between, predetermined outcomes and it forming in a part of your brain you don't have control over.
And isn't a will a desire, not necessarily how we were describing it earlier? If you have a will, it's just a desire.
I'm doing it purely about culpability.
Okay.
Am I responsible for my own actions?
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm thinking, of course I am. But it's thinking about it in a different way.
Okay.
It's not that everything about me is David, and therefore everything I do is completely under my control. Because this the reason I say it like this is there's always been a dichotomy between normal people, I say normal in a very lax way, and then mentally disturbed people. And we just kind of understand that those people aren't responsible for their actions. But these people are. And therefore these people can be punished, but those people can't. And it's why do we have this dichotomy at all?
Well, I do believe that there are different levels of... these people are facing a biological imperative to commit heinous acts.
And what's the difference between them and normal people? Well, are their biological imperatives wrong?
They're not necessarily wrong, but, our biological imperative is not... I guess, as imperative as theirs are.
And I'm saying why.
I'm saying that everybody has a problem of some sort. It's just that some people's problems is that they...
Can I blame punching Dante on my depression? That's a biological deficiency. This is why the legal system is so mixed up, because we have such rigid lines drawn in very arbitrary places. And it's just this is why I just do a blanket statement. Treat everybody. Everybody has something wrong with them, otherwise they won't commit the crimes.
I do agree with that part. As far as the whole, you have a mentally ill person, we should treat them, but you have a person who we deem not mentally ill, but we don't treat them, they should know better, just chuck them in jail. I think we should, whatever, everybody has a problem, and the root of the problem should be fixed. No matter if they're mentally ill, quote unquote, or not.
Yeah, it's why? What's the difference between somebody who had no opportunities their entire lives, their parents were drug-addled people that beat them continuously, and someone who's, who was just born schizophrenic? One of them, they were born with a mental deficiency.
Yeah.
The other one, like, say the person became psychotic.
Sociological factors.
The other one came from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, depression is a magical example, because no one's really born with depression. Well, some can, but that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that most people are born with the predisposition to becoming depressed, and then it is triggered by the environment. So what's responsible?
So what's going on
is it the world's fault that I'm depressed, or is it my brain's fault that I'm depressed?
So you're looking at it as though so you're looking at it as though the origin of the problem may be different. The problem is the same. The problem still exists.
Because think about it. This is what the legal system is saying.
Mm.
Environment caused your problem, so it's your fault. And then, like, say that I'm pointing at you now. It's like, your psychopathy was caused from birth, therefore it's not your fault.
So you think that there should not be...
I think it should be, both of you have problems. Let's fix those problems.
I agree with that part.
I think it's still, like, personal autonomy. Like, I still think it's the person is responsible for their actions regardless of who they are. But then there are some people who just are wildly unable to control their actions.
And I think that
then those people need the most help.
And I think it's easier to fix the person who was a quote-unquote victim of the environment and the bad treatment they've gone over.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's
not. It's even harder.
That's true.
There are some people that are like, there's like I did a lot of research into depression.
Uh-huh.
There's some like hardcore depression that's like, okay, there's like some hardcore depression that's like, I can't stand up. The depression's so bad.
Uh-huh.
So that can happen. Like, you can't get out of bed in the morning. You're so depressed.
I've heard of that.
Give them a shot of lithium. Instantly better. As if they were never depressed in their entire lives. Pill makes it magic. Now, if you've never had any opportunities, have been poor your entire life, your parents beat you continuously, that's going to take maybe the rest of your life to figure out.
Possibly, yeah. Because there's a lot of factors playing into that.
Environmental factors could actually be easier to treat, but we still punish those people because it's their fault they're that way.
Free will.
Nonsense.
Zeke.
This is what I mean. This is the sort of stuff. This is the sort of stuff I think about when trying to sleep.
It's actually good that you think about these things in a different way, because I start looking at a lot of things a different way when I get a new perspective.
It is my job as the leader of the Free Thought Society.
Which is part of the reason why I'm in this group in the first place, because I came in here to learn, simply.
So I have a question. These people...
You are wrong.
Obviously.
Why is Douglas even talking?
I know. No.
So these people that are simply a product of their biology, that are predisposed to aggressive behaviors or non-compliance with societal norms, like how do you feel that these people should be rehabilitated? And
honestly,
what about...
It's like... I'm sorry.
Well, do you entertain the possibility that they cannot be rehabilitated?
Sure.
And then,
like I said before, we may not have the technology. We may not have an understanding of humans. We might be too set in this idea of one pill cures all. And we might be stuck in this idea that punishment is more important than rehabilitation. It might take a long time for us to move away from this nonsense.
So what would you propose?
Patience.
Patience. It might actually be the case that there is going to be generations of people. Like, let's say the McDevitt Protocol is implemented in the entire country by magic. It might take generations for us to figure out how to do it correctly.
People don't want to do that because of instant gratification.
No, instant gratification and removing the problem.
And resources. I mean, if these people cannot be rehabilitated, regardless of even if it's because we like the technological advancements or the medical advancements, I mean, is it reasonable to remove them?
Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting the Giver style release.
I was going for the most dangerous game.
Eugenics?
What's the most dangerous game? A dude washes up on this guy's island, and it turns out that the most dangerous game is man.
Oh, hunting.
So he wanted to hunt them.
I mean,
I don't encourage hunting mentally disabled people, Douglas. I don't know why you brought that up.
Maybe Douglas is the mentally insane one.
Are you guys familiar with the novel The Giver?
Tell us about it, because we have 30 seconds. And now you all ponder why Douglas wants to kill the mentally handicapped.
Wow.
We are going to take a 15-minute break. Have a wonderful break. We'll be right back at 6 o'clock. Email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Zeke.